In this lesson, we will be covering the basic content, pages, and articles which come with Drupal out of the box. What makes Drupal so incredible as a content management system and a web application framework is the ability to customize pretty much everything. If you can imagine it and you have the time and the resources to produce it, then with Drupal, you can build it. At the same time, as a content management system, Drupal makes it possible to spin up a very simple site without any customization at all. Therefore, the Drupal learning curve can be either incredibly steep or very gradual, depending on the type of site that you need to build. So when you first install Drupal, you end up with a front page and configuration options, which is what you're looking at here. The front page says, "Welcome to Tastykakes for All," and has this nice little note saying no front page content has been created yet. At the top of the browser, you'll see the black bar and the silver bar, which are the configuration options. The most important configuration on your site is content entry. Without content, your site probably doesn't really serve much of a purpose. It is possible for a site to have a purpose without content, but you probably wouldn't be using something as complex as Drupal to build such a site. Since we're currently logged in as an administrator, we have the administrative menu at the top, which says Manage, Shortcuts, and then our username, TC4A. The Manage tab then shows us all of the configuration access that we have on our site, starting with the most important one, Content. We'll go ahead and click on Content and get started. By clicking on Content, we come to a page that shows us a list of all of the content available on our site. And at this time, there is no content available, and it tells us so. But there's also a big blue button that says Add Content, which we can click on to start adding content. We have two options available to us by default, Article and Basic Page. And underneath each of these options, you will see a little description. At this point, it's worth mentioning, according to Steve Krug's book, Don't Make Me Think, the golden rule is get rid of half of the text on your page, and when you're done, go through and get rid of half of the text again, because your users don't read. You are probably no different than your typical user. If you think about how you use websites in general, you probably will realize that what you do is you skim and look for what it is that you need rather than actually reading the blocks of text, unless, of course, you're looking at an article that you chose to read. As such, more likely than not, without even realizing it, you will not pay attention to the help text. And now is a really good time to start making a habit of reading the help text in your Drupal configuration options because the Drupal community is really good at providing documentation that can be very useful to you. For example, the help text here explains that an article is great for time-sensitive content and basic pages are great for static content that will rarely be changed. And this is because each of these forms offers different options that determine how that content will display and where it will display as well. We're going to go ahead and create a couple of pieces of content, an article and a basic page, in order to see how these types of content work and display out of the box. So we'll start with article. Since Tastykakes for All is a site that is servicing an audience that is interested in learning about food sensitivities, our first article will be about gluten sensitivity. We'll go ahead and type that in. And then we're going to add some dummy text or lorem ipsum in order to fill out the body and see how this page looks. I'm using an add-on for Google Chrome called Dummy Text, and I'm going to go over to that now. And it will create a bunch of paragraphs of generic pseudo-Latin text that can be used to see how the content will look. I'm going to drop that into my body field. We're just doing the very basics here. Scrolling down, I'm going to add a couple of tags. So gluten-free and baked goods. And then I'm going to add an image because that's available by default in this form. I'm navigating to an image and I will choose sticky buns. Once I added the image, I did get the alternative text field. And it's very important that you always fill out your alt text field on any piece of content when you add an image, because this is the text that screen readers and search engines will receive in the event that the image is not available. So for example, if you have a non-sighted user, you want to give them alt text as opposed to having them hear code or having them not receive the experience that you're trying to provide to your users. So in this case, the alt text will be delicious sticky buns. I'm going to leave everything else at the default for now and save and publish this piece of content so that we can see what happens. Okay, now I'm on the gluten sensitivity article page, and if I scroll down, we can see how the image displays. I'm going to scroll up a little. You can see when it was submitted, who submitted it, the image, the text, and if I scroll down further, you will see that tags are available and there's a comment field. So this particular content type has comments enabled by default. I'm going to scroll back up and go to the home page. We no longer have a note that says no front page content has been created yet, because now we do have a piece of content on the front page, and this piece of content is the article that we just created. It's displaying with a smaller version of the image and a teaser. Now we'll go ahead and create a basic page. So I'm going to go back to content, add content, basic page. Remember that basic pages are for more static content that won't change over time. This particular page might be about Tastykakes for All. I'm going to grab some more lorem ipsum for the body. And now you'll notice these are the only two fields that are available on this form, unlike the article form, which had tags and an image and all kinds of stuff that you could fill out. Now the next option that we have is save and publish. But I'm also going to direct you over to the right-hand side where you'll see menu settings in the list of links on the right. And if I click on that, it's going to expand for me. And now I have an option to provide a menu link with this particular page. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It gives me a title automatically based on the title of the page itself, and it asks me what the parent item is. And we'll talk about menus in another lesson. I'm going to leave that as main navigation, but I will change the menu link title to About. And now we'll go ahead and save and publish this particular piece of content. So if I scroll down on this page, it's just the text. There's no comment field, and there's also no time and date stamp or author stamp on this particular piece of content. So it displays very differently by default. And if I scroll back up, you'll see the menu at the top, the navigation under the title, Tastykakes for All. Now we have About and Home. So this shows you right here how much you can create with Drupal out of the box without doing any customization at all. If your site is a brochure style site that simply needs to provide some static information and then have a river of news, then out of the box Drupal will give you everything that you need right there. To recap, out of the box, Drupal offers us two content types, article and basic page. Articles will automatically display on the home page with a teaser, and they have an image field available to them as well. Basic pages can be added to the navigation system through the menu settings, and they can determine the site structure.